What if the answers you've been seeking in the world are already hidden within you, silent, waiting, eternal? Plotinus didn't search for truth in temples or in politics. He turned inward and found the universe inside himself. In a world obsessed with what is seen, he dared to ask, what if the real world is invisible? Plotinus was born in 204 CE in Egypt, in a time when the Roman Empire was still thriving. But its spiritual heart was fragmenting. Temples echoed with empty ritual, and many philosophies had become intellectual games. Disconnected from the soul, Plotinus would change that. He would ignite a spiritual revolution, not with weapons or followers, but with silence, thought, and a deep journey inward. He was drawn to philosophy early in life, but no teacher satisfied his hunger for truth until he discovered Ammonius Saccas in Alexandria. Ammonius was a mysterious figure, blending Platonic thought with Eastern mysticism, and his ideas would change Plotinus forever. Under his guidance, Plotinus began to sense that philosophy was not just about arguments or ideas. It was a path, a way of life, a spiritual ascent. He studied for over a decade in silence and depth, and then, at the age of nearly 40, he joined a Roman military campaign to the east. Not to fight, but to learn. He wanted to reach Persia, and even India, hoping to find spiritual masters who had gone further into the soul than Greek philosophy had yet dared. Though the journey failed, it marked a turning point. When he returned, he settled in Rome, began teaching, and eventually recorded his teachings in a collection later titled the Aeneid, arranged by his student Porphyry. But Plotinus was not a typical philosopher. He did not seek public debates. He did not enjoy politics or praise. He lived modestly, often declining to have his portrait made, saying, "Why should I keep the image of this thing to which I must say goodbye?" He was not trying to improve the outer world. He was trying to transcend it. For Plotinus, the purpose of life was to return, not to a place, but to a source. He believed that every soul comes from a divine unity, what he called the One. And the journey of life is to awaken, remember, and return to that origin through contemplation, virtue, and inner purification. He built his entire philosophy around this idea, that everything we see in the world is a reflection, a shadow, a copy. The visible world is not ultimate. It is only a sign pointing back to something invisible, something more real than what the eyes can see. And this is where Plotinus stood apart from many other thinkers of his time. While Stoics taught endurance and Platonists debated forms, Plotinus reached for something beyond thought. He believed that philosophy, when lived sincerely, could open the soul, that we are not just minds trapped in bodies, but rays of divine light clouded by forgetfulness. He taught that to find peace, truth, and beauty, one must turn inward, not as isolation, but as revelation. He said, "Withdraw into yourself and look, and if you do not find yourself beautiful yet, act as does the creator of a statue. Cut away what is superfluous." His spiritual method was not to add more, but to remove, to refine, to return. Plotinus was not interested in theology, doctrine, or hierarchy. He was interested in the direct experience of the soul. He spoke of ecstasy, not as emotional excitement, but as the deep stillness where the soul touches eternity. And he believed that this state is not reserved for saints or mystics. It is available to anyone who truly seeks. He was a philosopher, but also a mystic, a teacher, but also a guide, and in his quiet life, he gave the Western world one of its clearest maps to the invisible heart of being. Plotinus did not believe the material world was evil, but he did believe it was incomplete. To him, the world of the senses, what we see, touch, measure, was only the surface of a far deeper reality. Beneath appearances, behind form, he believed there was a hidden unity, an unspeakable source of all that exists. He called it the One. The One is not a God in the traditional sense. It does not have personality, will, or emotions. It is beyond thought, beyond image, beyond duality. It is the origin of all being. And yet it is not a being itself. It is pure presence, absolute simplicity. The One gives rise to everything not by decision, but by overflowing. Like the sun radiating light, it cannot help but emanate. It is fullness pouring into creation. From the One comes the first level of existence, the divine mind, also called the nous. This is the realm of pure intelligence, where all perfect forms and archetypes dwell. It is the mind of the cosmos, the place where meaning is born. From the divine mind emerges the soul, the universal soul, and from it, all individual souls. And it is here that the journey begins. Each soul, according to Plotinus, descends from the divine mind into the world of matter, not as punishment, but as possibility. The soul enters time, space, and body in order to grow, to learn, to return to itself. But in doing so, it risks forgetting. It begins to identify with what it sees around it, with the body, with status, with fear, with desire. This forgetfulness is the root of human suffering. Not sin, not disobedience, but amnesia. We forget who we are. We mistake the copy for the original, the echo for the source. We live in the shadows, thinking they are the light. And yet, even in this descent, the soul carries a spark, a memory, a longing. It feels drawn to beauty, to love, to truth, not because these things are mere preferences, but because they are traces of its origin. Every time you are moved by a sunset, a song, a quiet moment of connection, it is your soul remembering. It is your soul responding to the call of the One. Plotinus taught that this longing is sacred. It is the thread that leads us home. But to follow it, we must begin to turn inward. The soul must begin to reverse its descent, not by rejecting the world, but by rising through it, by seeing beauty not as an end, but as a sign, by using reason not as a cage, but as a ladder, by practicing virtue not for reward, but for purification. The soul's journey is not linear. It is not easy. There are distractions, temptations, moments of confusion, but the path remains. It is within you. It has always been within you. Plotinus believed that the more we live in harmony with this inner truth, the more we regain our real power. Not the power to control others, but the power to become whole, to become simple again, to become radiant. He described the soul as light lit by a greater light. And the task of life, he believed, was to uncover that light, polish it through contemplation, and let it shine, not outward, but upward, toward the One, toward the Source, toward unity. And in this ascent, the soul does not lose itself. It becomes more fully itself. As it rises, it leaves behind what is temporary, what is false, what is fragmented. It does not escape the world, it fulfills it. To Plotinus, the journey of the soul was not a movement in space, but a return in awareness. You do not need to climb mountains or visit temples to touch the divine. You only need to remember. And remembering, for him, means returning to the inner world, the still, silent space where truth waits. In a world that pushes us outward, Plotinus reminds us to look inward, not to escape life, but to awaken to it. He taught that when we withdraw from the senses and turn toward the soul, we begin to see with new eyes. Not physical eyes, but spiritual perception. A vision that sees meaning behind form, light behind shadow, unity behind difference. This path is not abstract. It is deeply personal. It begins in silence, in contemplation, in the slow, quiet act of watching your thoughts, of listening not just to what the world says, but to what your soul knows. This is not about erasing desire. It is about purifying it, redirecting it, letting it guide you home. Plotinus believed that beauty is one of the soul's greatest guides. Not just aesthetic beauty, but moral beauty, intellectual beauty, the harmony of ideas, the courage of virtue, the peace of inner order. When you encounter true beauty, he said, you are encountering a reflection of the One. And that experience, though brief, opens a door inside you. He taught that the soul rises through stages. First, through ethical living, then, through philosophical understanding, then, through contemplative absorption, and finally, through mystical union. At the highest level, the soul experiences what he called kenosis, oneness, a moment beyond thought, beyond self, beyond language. In that moment, the soul does not observe the One. It becomes one with it. And then, it returns, with more light, more wisdom, more love. But Plotinus never promised that this union would be permanent. He himself admitted it came rarely, and only through great effort. He compared the soul's journey to that of a sculptor. The sculptor does not add clay. He removes it. He chips away everything that does not belong until the form appears. In the same way, the seeker removes illusion, habit, distraction, until the soul's true face emerges. And this practice is not reserved for monks or mystics. Anyone can begin. In fact, everyone already has, because every human longing for meaning, every act of compassion, every question whispered into the night is a movement toward the One. Plotinus's message is not to deny the world. It is to see the world as a veil, and then lift it. to live in the world without becoming lost in it, to love deeply without attachment, to act wisely without pride, to find stillness without withdrawal, and to walk always with one ear turned inward, listening for the music of home. He gave us no dogma, no commandments, only direction, inward, upward, homeward. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the inner world of Plotinus. His voice, though quiet, still echoes across time, reminding us that philosophy is not just thinking. It is transformation. So we leave you with this question. What part of yourself have you forgotten, and what might you rediscover if you turned inward? If this message moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. Let this be a space of reflection, not just reaction. And if you feel called to continue the search for truth, subscribe and walk with us here on the Life Philosophy channel. Until next time, stay centered, stay sincere, and remember, the way back is always within.